welcome here. My name is Reverend Madrone, and I am the interim minister here this year. My pronouns are she and hers. I would like to give a special welcome today to Robert Stevenson, the oboist who is joining us. This year marks the 40th season that he has been serving as the oboist with the Utah Symphony. Thank you for being part of our service. Our call to worship is written by the Reverend Ted Gallardo. She is a UU minister who is based in the Philippines. She writes, "We love as is our habit. We love with our eyes open. We love with hearts on fire. We love with souls connecting. We love as we were made to do. We love because there is me and there is you." Let us begin our worship today by singing number 1003 in your teal hymnals, "Where Do We Come From?" And John is going to lead us in a round.
So more than I thought from my seated position. So yeah, if you're grateful that this is around this morning, how about we sing it all together at once through, and then group 1, group 2, group 3, and group 4. Sound good? And I'll help out.
My name is Britt. I am the acting DRE here at South Valley, and I'm today's worship leader. The pronouns I use are she, her, and hers. I would like to welcome you this morning to South Valley Unitarian Universalist Society. We're an intentionally diverse religious community. All are welcome here. We'd like to send an especially warm welcome to those of you who are visiting us for the first time. We're We're so glad you're here. Please make sure to check with the greeter after the service if you haven't already done so. We would love to get to know you. This is a caring and supportive community. In the chapel in the back of the sanctuary, there is a book to write your joys and concerns. Please feel free to share a joy and concern there, and a member of our caring circle will follow up with you. Children are always welcome in the sanctuary during the service. We also broadcast the service to a closed-circuit TV downstairs in the social hall and in the nursery. The nursery is not staffed today, but we welcome you to join your children down there. That's the best choice for you today. Today is an intergenerational service. We will be worshiping together. After the service, everyone is invited downstairs for fellowship and to check out the Happenings Hub, where you will learn about the many activities that are part of South Valley community. In addition, in the order of service, there are announcements that will help you learn about the ways to participate in the life of this community. As we begin, I ask you to place your electronic devices in worship mode, with the caveat that very cool things might happen, and we welcome you to take pictures and post them on Facebook. The worship mode can be just quieting down, but still feel free to social media. That's what you get with Millennial DRE. Thank you. I would like to call up Tina Kirkham from the Communications Committee for an update.
Hello, my name is Tina Kirkham. I'm leading our communications team this year. I just wanted to remind everyone that we have a survey up on the internet for all of you to fill out. It asks all kinds of questions about how you're getting information and how we can improve the flow of information here. So I'm asking everyone to please go up and fill out that survey. We've had about 15 responses, and there are places in the survey where you can just talk to us directly. It's not just multiple choice, you get to just tell us what you think. And the responses we're getting are fantastic. So please continue doing that, and thank you.
Now is the sharing of the warm community. Please turn and greet your neighbor and welcome them into worship. You're welcome to come up. People of all ages are welcome to come up. So I want to start by asking some questions. Have the two of you, have either of you ever worn a mask? If you could raise your hand, I'll put the mic in you. Charlie, yes.
I wear a costume mask.
What was the mask of? Stormtrooper. Now I have a question. When you wore the Stormtrooper mask, did you become a Stormtrooper or were you still Charlie? But if someone maybe met you, would they be sure you were Charlie, or would they think maybe this is a Stormtrooper in my midst?
I don't know.
You don't know. That's the thing, right? Sometimes when we wear masks, people can tell what's going on with us, and sometimes they can't. Let's see. Can you tell who I am? How can you tell? Right, so it's just part of me is a little different. I'm taking this rainbow part of me, this is maybe the part that's proud that I'm queer, and putting it on and saying, I'm still Rebecca, but this is a bit of a different part of me. For example, the way I'm talking right now, I don't talk this way all day long. Could you imagine if I went to the bank and I said, "Hi, my name's Rebecca. I'm a Chase account holder. Can I make a deposit?" Would it be confusing?
No.
It would be confusing, right? Because I talk this way because I'm telling a story and I'm telling to people of all ages. So this is a part of me where I maybe put on this mask and I say, it's time for all ages. I'm going to talk in an exaggerated way. I'm going to be excited. If I'm frustrated, I'm not going to show it. But I'm still me, right? Even though I'm wearing that mask, just like Charlie and the Stormtrooper, he's still Charlie. I'm still me. And if I go to the bank and I say, let's see if I can even do it. Hi, my name's Rebecca. I have an account, can I just make a deposit? I'm still the me that does time for all ages. I'm just also the me that goes to the bank. So we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about the different parts of ourselves and how they show up. And maybe, is it a little strange sometimes? Yeah, it's sometimes confusing. Just like sometimes maybe you go to trick-or-treating and you're not sure who you're seeing, but still your friends. So I'm going to invite you to go ahead and sit back down. We're going to sing you the song because we love the song, but we're not going downstairs for RE because we're all going to get here together. All right, thank you so much.
Let's take a moment to bring our energy into this space. Become comfortable here, whatever that means for you. Today I want to honor it that it was a year ago that the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh experienced a massacre. And that yesterday, one of our churches, the UU Church in Cortland, New York, someone painted a swastika on their front door. There's still plenty of work for us to do around healing work in our world. And so today I'm going to read a prayer written by the Reverend Ines Soto in response to this swastika painting. And because I believe in both prayer and action, prayer and community, on the back table I put a note card that we can send to that church to give them our blessings. And so after this service, if you could make sure to go write a note, sign the card, and then we will send this to them to let them know that we here in Utah are thinking of them as well. So these are the words of the Reverend Ines Soto. Spirit of life, Spirit among and between us, together we come, breathing and holding forward our hearts, beating but tender. Some bruised, some angry, some fearful, and definitely some of us a little of each. We ask for your loving kindness and your grace to wash over us and to be reflected in the way we treat each other and stay connected even as we confront and heal from the fruits of the venomous tree of white supremacy. Let us bring steadfast love along with tender and unyielding courage. Show us in these days of starkly polarized communities how to build a way forward, that we may all, embracing our humanity, journey on together. For all these things, we give thanks and say amen and blessed be.
14-point font. And I'm just reading something, right? And you know, sometimes it bothers me when I actually go back and watch the video because I love watching film. I guess of myself and critiquing myself. But I've definitely heard that, you know, it's a mask that I can take off, right? And I wanted to tie that in a little bit. Yeah, because I'm not the same person if I'm reading something, even if during that I'm trying to connect. And so I feel like these stories are so important for connection that I just like wrote a couple of notes, and I have something here that I'm probably going to read, but just wanted to acknowledge the mask, right? That hopefully I'm taking off, or maybe I'm putting a different one on, I'm not even sure. But I did this in January when we called it a Why Am I Here message, which is a very different thing, especially because I'm a lifelong UU, and so that's a much longer story before I got to this place, right? The Why Am I Here? But all of that is mostly irrelevant when I'm talking about my South Valley story. And I really appreciate how Reverend Karen led us away from that notion in a different thematic and frankly more important prompt for sharing our South Valley story. Now we've been sharing stories from the pulpit and collectively, to collectively tell the story of South Valley. And in cottage meetings and the congregational survey, we've gathered over 150 more South Valley stories, all weaving together into the fabric of this community, a tapestry rich with colors of love and action, angst and hurt, joy and sorrow. So when I did this in January, I gave history and talked about a few important parts. Part of like being challenged here, and community for my family and my kids, and the care and support of the community. And I probably spent like half a page on that, and so I wanted to expand on that. And say that what we found, we came here in January or December in 2017, 2018, so not that long ago. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. And as a UU, church shopping was not a very lengthy process, but when we came here, what we found was almost a reflection of how we think about our values and our family. We not every night, but many times we say a prayer at the table that starts, totally blanking on how we even say our prayer now. But this is part of the mask, right? The spirit of this family is love, right? And that's how I feel about this church, in all the ways that I mentioned. I do want to read part from that I read in January about challenge and action, because I believe in radical inclusivity, which means including everyone, especially those that disagree with me. And more to the point, I believe in community, which makes those who don't agree with me, more to the point, I believe in a community which makes those who don't agree feel welcome and not belittled for their beliefs. At the time, Reverend Bob said, "Those with different truths find theirs every bit as important as you find yours." And I think in the message from Minnesota, did I get that right? Yeah. Talking about, actually just sitting out there just really struck me, talking about how polarized society is and how important it is to listen to each other and value other people's experiences and their beliefs. And I think that's a large part of what we found here. It's challenging, and I think that we live up to that for the most part. And certainly everybody has work to do in that arena, and we don't have to think alike to love alike. Community for our children. Boy, that was a really big draw when we came here. There were 10, 15 kids here, which was, a quarter of the people, here, and it was just, and they loved coming to church. And that made such a huge difference in the tone of this church, this community set for our kids and our family. And as much as my wife Michelle doesn't actually attend very often, but she absolutely loves the community here too. And oddly enough, and I'm just sort of rambling now, which is a danger of not having notes, or having something printed out. In our cottage meetings, as being fortunate enough to be able to witness a lot of them, I've been struck by how many families we have here where that's the case, where there's like one person who is really comes a lot, and another person who is supportive and loves the community, but just doesn't come quite as often, and that's okay. And that is part of being in community. And then the last part, which even in January, it actually, especially in January, hadn't really come up so much yet, which is the care and support. I am very much, I really hate calling myself an activist, but I get involved politically. And part of, in a very sort of hopefully welcoming way, that the action, like I really love taking action. But the care and support of the community is something that didn't really draw us in, but it's one of those things that just keeps you here. And this past year, in a small way compared to others who have had major tragedies, we lost our dog, which sounds silly until you actually lose a dog, especially when it was your first child essentially. And my grandfather, who I was very close with, passed away. And over the course of the previous year, John Cooper spoke in the pulpit several times about loss and the process that he went through. And I love that those sorts of things are talked openly here, because that actually helped me as I went through a grieving process, recognizing what was happening. And so, even if we wasn't actively talking about it in coffee hour or anything like that, just having the community and the discussion and the discourse that goes on here is so valuable. And I'm going to end my South Valley story by saying that I love you guys, and I love us, and this is my story. It is not necessarily your story. Could be parts of it, could be your story, but it is part of our story. It is our practice here at South Valley to split our worship service offerings with a charitable organization or program that aligns with our values and principles. For September and October, it will go to VOA, Center for Women and Children, which provides safety and support for homeless and low-income women who are withdrawing from alcohol or drugs. The center is a 30-bed social model where women can complete the detoxification process, take care of their children, and move towards self-sufficiency. Women are connected to needed resources such as substance abuse treatment and recovery-focused support groups, and have the opportunity to work in the on-site setting. Will you join me in saying the words printed in the order of service for our offering? We are its church. We are its hands, its heart, its voice. Together we share the wealth of this community and sustain it with our gifts.
today is by John O'Donohue in his book, To Bless the Space Between Us. It's called For the Interim Time. When near the end of day has drained out of light and it is too soon for the mind of night to have darkened things, no place looks like itself, loss of outline, makes everything look strangely in between, unsure of what has been or what might come. In this one light, even trees seem groundless. In a while it will be night, but nothing here seems to believe in the relief of dark. You are in this time of the interim, where everything seems withheld. The path you took to get here has washed out. The way forward is still concealed from you. The old is not old enough to have died away. The new is still too young to be born. You cannot lay claim to anything. In this place of dusk, your eyes are blurred and there is no mirror. Everyone else has lost sight of your heart, and you can see nowhere to put your trust. You know you have to make your own way through. As far as you can, hold your confidence. Do not allow your confusion to squander this call, which is loosening your roots in false ground, that you might come free from all you have outgrown. What is being transfigured here is your mind, and it is difficult and slow to become new. The more faithfully you can endure here, the more refined your heart will become for your arrival in the new dawn.
where instead of Karen or I talking for the whole time, we're going to ask you to participate and get involved. And so we've been talking about masks, the idea of masks. So we are going to pose 3 questions and invite you to, within a small group, maybe 5 to 6, go in your comfort level, and invite you also to talk to some new folks, answer that question, and then we'll share it. You have the first question?
So all of the questions are in your order of service. And so how we're going to do it is we're going to ask you to group up with just people around you. And so for the first time, for our first round, then we're going to ask you to focus in on the first question, which is, what are some places in your life where you don't show your full self, and how does that help or serve you? So that is something that we would like you to consider in your conversations. And then this is just going to be for about 4 minutes. So find your people, and then we'll start a clock of about 4 minutes, and then we'll talk back a little bit about what that was like. So go ahead, group up, find some people to talk with, and welcome them and
All right, so I'm going to ask you to bring it on back together, and we're going to now invite you as you come home to share out. We'll take one or two responses. If you want to share what your group talked about or your own turn on this, would you raise your hand? Yeah. What? Did you say your name, please?
And I just came out to 1,500 raging mad Southern Baptists. Don't like that.
Could you stand up so?
Oh, okay. Proclaim. Yes, I'm from the Bible Belt. I believe in what I'm doing. Hallelujah. I believe now. But you go come out, due to modern communication, you come out to so many people at once because somebody's friendly to it, and you find the comments, and they're stacking up even as we speak. Some people that, what purpose are you doing this? You know, the hostility just ripples through the thing. And I don't care. And just let them have their fun. I'm going to have mine. And I want to lead some of them to a better place. And I find being yourself, it's a great time saver, by the way. It's a big filter. Gets rid of the garbage real quick. And there's a lot of people out there that they think they know who you are, they don't know who you are, and they assume they are. And they've found even smiles, you take pictures of people smiling and go to a different culture, and they may interpret it totally different from what you expect. Because we've been conditioned by our movies and our culture that this is what it means. And it doesn't mean that for everyone. And it certainly doesn't mean that the same as it does here to people in Little Rock, Arkansas. So.
Thank you so much. Do we have anyone else who wants to share in this question? Again, it was, ooh, I see someone. It was, what are some places in your life where you don't show your full self, and how does that help or serve you? Hi, would you mind saying your name?
Hi, I'm Stella Salazar, and like most people in any helping profession, whether you're a layperson or just a person here or in a professional setting, setting personal boundaries is probably the best. Knowing yourself as to what you can or cannot do so you don't overstep on your own self as well as anybody else's abilities. So I guess learning those personal boundaries, as this wise lady told us in the group. So yeah, so whether you're a lay person or just a regular person on the street, always understand your boundaries and their boundaries so that there isn't a clash or an overstep. I think that's best.
All right, thank you so much for sharing out.
So moving on with that, then when I think about places where I am not my full self, and none of us are really our full self, truly, and I mean, other than my apartment, that is the only place where I'm really fully all of who I am. And we all have these layers of what we share about ourselves and where we share that based on our own comfort level. And I think it's okay, like there's this message that we get in our culture of like always being ourselves, but I think it's also good to know that it's okay to protect yourself and to know like where is it okay to share different parts of our stories, because it's not a really a comfortable thing. And so for myself and my role, I appreciate what you just lifted up about professional boundaries, that here there are stories that I feel like I'm in a different role based on even just with different people here, based on my relationships, based on sometimes it's with staff, sometimes it's with different lay leaders. There are different ways of how I am here. And then there's situations like a couple weeks ago when I got my haircut, and the hairdresser's like, so what's your job? And so I come to minister, and she says, well, what are you going to do the rest of the day? I'm like, I'm going to go finish my sermon. And she's like, you're what? Like, wait a minute, because people have these stories about what is a minister supposed to look like, what are you supposed to act like in the world, and so there are different places where even this thing in my life that I'm actually really proud of, it took me a long time to get to where I am, that I still don't share that with everybody based on the situations that I'm in. And so I think that that's okay to be able to know that for yourself and be able to know like where and how far can I share parts of my story. So we want to move on to our second question of, do you think it is okay to hide parts of who you are? We've done a little bit of that in there, but just to be able to say, like, how do you protect yourself and how is that okay for you? And we're going to do just a little bit shorter time for this one, just 3 minutes. Is there one or two people who would like to respond to that question? Leo? Would you stand up?
I can talk about it. So, say you're at a party, and there's just one person in a corner, just down sad, but you can, and they act like they have a mask on. They're happy, like joyful, going around, having lots of fun, but you can still tell because they can have like a sad energy feel about them. So even with the mask, it doesn't, just like with the story and Rebecca, you can't hide all of yourself. You can only hide parts of it.
Sophia Hosteen. What I think about sometimes is it's necessary that you, even though the temptation there to hide yourself is important, sometimes you're maybe the only person available that can help break the narrative. And for an example, when I'm campaigning, when I'm going door to door, and just yesterday I stopped by a door and she's saying, oh, these renters are always cluttering up all the area, they don't do everything. We should have rules and laws for renters. And, I'm actually a renter myself. And, there's the fear, it's like, well, if I let them know I'm a renter, I'm not going to get their vote. But I didn't quite come all the way out to my identity, but I said, we just need to make sure that everybody's held to the same standards, not more higher standards for renters. So it's very important in some cases to come out, to let off that part of yourself that you don't normally put out, so that you can help break those narratives and help make conversation and help people be more inclusive.
So I think Leo was right in recognizing that we might put on the mask, but people can still see what's going on. And at the same time, I think there are times when people didn't even pretend. I'll be honest, those of you who were at Wellspring Wednesdays last week, I was pretty upset at one point, and everyone was like, okay, we'll just let it go and keep going, even though I told the mask that it was okay. But Leo's right, sometimes you recognize and you see someone, and you might identify what's going on underneath their mask, which brings us to our third question, which is, what does it feel like when someone else removes your mask and shows you what's behind it? What's your response when that happens? So take 3 minutes and talk about that question, and we'll share it again. someone else removes your mask and shows what's behind it and how you respond.
You say your name.
My name is Peter, and I remember it, and it happens to me sometimes. I will point out something about something to another people, totally inappropriate. For instance, maybe there's something, it's almost gossip. We suddenly say, oh, did you know that blah, blah, blah? And we deal it to a group of people. And it's none of their business and none of my business. And boy, that's not good. You guys get that?
Thank you, Peter. Anyone else, Mary?
My name is Mary Norton. I think it depends on the situation, and it depends on what that person is revealing. Sometimes it's something where it's like, oh, I didn't even realize I was doing that sort of scenario. And sometimes it's like just a shock, and it's like, I don't know what to say. Because maybe they've revealed something you've been hiding from yourself for so long. Then suddenly I'm what? Wait, what? Okay, I've got to go in a corner and reevaluate my entire life. Thank you so much.
You're a wizard. My response is always, how dare you change the story I tell about myself? How dare you?
So I want to end this time in our service together by first talking a little bit about something that we didn't put in, but that's about when other people put masks on you because they have a story about who you are based on a particular role that you're in. And so this goes back to what was mentioned earlier about professional roles and boundaries. And so here at South Valley, you all have experienced there was a new interim minister last year. We have me as the interim this year. We have Rebecca as the acting DRE this year because your former director of religious education has now gone on to seminary. You have John as the music director. There has been a lot of shift and change in the last 2 years. And so what we as staff sometimes experience is people putting projections and stories onto us. And so how we experience it by people saying, why aren't you doing this thing? And we're like, what thing? What are you talking about? And then it's pointed out to us that it was something that a particular person did. And so sometimes what we've noticed is that there's a challenge separating a role from a person. And so what we want to help lift up is that we are in these roles, the people we are. And that we can't ever separate out that part of ourselves while we are also serving in professional roles. And so sometimes it's wearing like this dual mask and knowing that people have stories about us based on people who served in those roles before. What comes to mind, especially for that I think our younger folks here might be able to understand, is if you have teachers who think, well, your older brother used to do so well in this certain subject. Why aren't you? What is your problem? Why aren't you doing this thing? But they don't know that, or a story is being put onto them of, you should do really great in this sport because your older sibling was, but not allowing for this new person to be who they are. And so I encourage you to think about that and what are the roles and the stories that we tell about ourselves. And then the other part that I wanted to talk about a little bit was going back to the question about what it's like when someone else removes your mask. And so when I think about this, I think about like really good teachers, really good friends who really know us, an excellent therapist who points things out to us, who notices these patterns and then who can say, I see that you keep doing this thing over and over again. And then we, even though, especially if it's a therapist, somebody we pay to point things out to, we still get mad. We still get defensive. We still go, oh no, that's not me. I think that you misunderstand. And sometimes it takes a while for us to notice that, well, maybe there's some truth in what they were saying. And so it's hard when we walk around with our masks on, and then someone that has experience or training or whatever that is can point that out to you, and still it's hard. So there's this place of defensiveness that we all go to as humans. We all go, oh wait, this is not right. And it just like, I really love Mary's response about like, I need to reevaluate everything because we have stories that we tell about ourselves. And so here, in this process of the interim time, is when myself, as your second interim minister, and Rebecca, as the acting DRE, we have been slowly chipping away at some of the mess that South Valley has. And so we've been pointing things out, and I know that that has been challenging for people to be told, to hear, to see. And so just like humans are individuals, the institutional system response is also, oh, but that's not right. That cannot be true. And so I want to challenge you to stay in the place of curiosity. Notice when you're being defensive about things and go, maybe that is something we could look at. And to really be able to think at what is the whole story. And I want to acknowledge that this is really hard work. That when at my home congregation, when we went through this, and I had a developmental minister, she was really great at a lot of things, but she was also like constantly pointing things out. And I, like you, loved my home church. And so it's really hard when you have people who are saying, oh yes, you're great at all these things, but these things too, they need work. And so many years later, I now understand her process. But I just wanted to let you know that I too have been where you are. I have been the one who had to listen and go, wait a minute, that's not right. And then it's only many, many years later of being able to look back and see, oh, well, that made sense. And so during this time, I want to encourage you to be aware, like this service is about understanding that there are certain times and places where very much we need masks, where we do need to be clear about what we show each other and what our story is, because our story is behind these masks. And then like with this search process is about revealing ourselves to future fellow ministers and what is going to be revealed. It's a constant, this is who we are and this is who we want to be. How do we share who we are underneath all of that? So please do what you can to stay in a place of openness and curiosity, and this applies to all parts of our lives. I'd like to end our service with singing number 1052, The Oneness of Everything. It's in your teal hymnal.
heart. We extinguish the chalice, but not the warmth of love, the light of truth, or the energy of action. We hold each other in our hearts and still believe.
As we go forth into our week, into our lives, hurrying on from here, let us remember that we are all loved and we are all one. Amen and blessed be.